Mic. Camera. Action.
It's a hell of a thing, ain't it?
What's that?
Boat in a tree. A hell of a thing.
Talking about our boat?
Talking about my boat.
We found it.
Hey, you found it with me living in it. Possessions. 9/10 of the law.
You got crosses in your heels.
Nails. Shaped like crosses.
What for?
Ward off evil spirits. Fallen from a man I called an Indian, but I was a Mexican. Said they was 7-league boots. Worn by the 7th son of the 7th son. Told me, turned me into a werewolf. That's a lie. I don't know nothing about that. They just good luck boots. As you can see, they ain't working too well so far.
All right. Welcome back to the Filmography, the show dedicated to watching every credited film from an actor's complete back catalogue, from past debut through to present day, in chronological order. Each episode, I'm joined by an esteemed guest to watch and discuss the next entry from the focused filmography, and consider how it ranks amidst their career, and whether we can trace any typecasting trends or topic traits or theatrical tics. Today, I'm joined by Tim and Amber from This American Wife podcast to discuss McConaughey's performance in Jeff Nichols' Mud from 2012. We watch, you listen, and hopefully watch along too. Good. This is an odd thing to say. Afternoon. Normally this is done in the evenings, but for reasons, maybe I don't know how much it's still showing in my voice. I've been off feeling a bit unwell. So we've managed to organise this for an afternoon. It's in daylight. Thanks for joining me, guys.
That's why it's nice to be fully awake while talking about it. Yeah, no, this is a good one to be fully alert to talk about as well, because this film has got a lot packed in it.
Oh, this is great. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many of these movies that just feel like, we did Bernie together last time, only, a couple of episodes ago. So many of his movies just seem to be these little undiscovered gems. Like, don't hear anybody talking about Mud, don't hear anybody talking about Bernie. And they're both bringing a lot to the table.
Yeah. I think with Mud, I had it on my watch list for years, and I have no idea why I never got around to seeing it, because I'd seen a lot of other Jeff Nichols films. I think I've seen almost all of his films, in fact. But somehow, although I knew about this film and I wanted to see it, I just have never sat down to watch it until this week. And so thank you for that, because this is really, really good.
Yeah. I don't know how I missed this either. 2012, I had graduated high school. And I was moving, I guess, and I just never got around to seeing it. And I'm so glad that we sat down to actually watch it.
Yeah, it's we've definitely got to talk about Jeff Nichols and his filmography and where this fits, because it definitely does fit. I think there's almost like a little mini trilogy he's got there. But yeah, 2012 for me that's the year my eldest son was born. So there was a big window where I just didn't see anything. I think I've spoken about it before on the show at some point where, that Christmas I got a lot of DVDs and a lot of Blu-rays, because everybody knew that I'd just not seen anything because my son was born in June. So it was, you've had 6 months of not going to the cinema or seeing anything new, or here's everything you've missed. It was, it was lovely actually. But this would have been amongst that collection, because it would have been one you probably had to seek out. It's not a major release. It's a very independent movie.
Yeah. But that's typical of all Jeff Nichols films, I think. I know that I saw Take Shelter and Midnight Special. I saw them in cinemas. I think I still got the ticket stubs, but I don't even know why or how they rose to the top of my list. I just suppose at that time I was going to the cinema more often. But a lot of his films, people don't even realize they've existed.
No. And this is one of those ones that this wouldn't be in the cinema anymore, would it? Not in the landscape we have now. This is a classic straight to streaming style movie, but it's wasted because it's cinematic.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was I thought this is, I mean, I haven't seen very many of Jeff Nichols' films, to be honest, but this makes me want to watch more of them.
Mm.
And I mean, we might get to talk about how it was filmed. I haven't yet found a direct reference of this, but to me, it looked like it was all natural light. I could be wrong, but like almost all of it looked like it was done in natural light, apart from maybe the nighttime scenes. And it just was such a beautiful film to see. And when you look at the cinematic landscape right now, something like Train Dreams is being talked about as a Oscar frontrunner, and everyone's saying about how beautiful that looks, and it's shot with natural light, and it's a similar kind of taste of American, Midwest and things. And you're like, well, why was Mud not talked about more at the time?
No, it is interesting because it's right at that peak of that, we keep talking about it. The McConaughey is happening. It's right now. And people were celebrating him again in this, I believe. But the film, it's just not, I don't think it obviously, it did well. It made 32 million on a $10 million budget. That's pretty decent. It's not big money, but it's all right for this kind of movie. Yeah. But I don't hear it in any conversations, and I think it's a real shame. I think it has a lot to say. And as you said, it looks stunning. The location work is absolutely beautiful and really gives it that sense of like lived in authenticity. Like Mud is the name of the character, but it's a pretty appropriate name considering the vista of where this story lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if you know this, but Jeff Nichols is from Arkansas, so I think this maybe also hit close to home for him. Like this probably was a lot of his own childhood experience too.
Yeah, you're right. That really does give it, and that you can feel that in it, can't you? You can feel that sense of like there's the love for the characters in this, but the sense of like this is coming from a real place for sure.
And I wonder, like you said, if this is a bit of a Nichols trilogy, but you wonder if these were different aspects of his upbringing being highlighted through film. This is maybe his experience as a child, but then there are aspects maybe giving insight to his relationship with his parents and other things. So, yeah, I think there's definitely an autobiographical aspect to this, but obviously not the full story. But there are definitely aspects of living in that kind of environment.
He has the two films you mentioned were the ones that I think you take Shelter, this, and Midnight Special. You can put those three together because they all have that kind of father and sons, almost like coming of age style, but kind of both of them coming of age, right? And in all these movies, it's like the father has to come through something in order to find themselves. So you're right. It's really interesting thinking about. I sort of feel that coming of age tag is a little bit overused sometimes, but I think that's what's really interesting about those three films in particular. That yes, the children have to but at times they're often the more mature one. They're the one which are helping the adult to realize something about themselves or about the world.
Yeah, and very prominent father figures in all of them as well. That sometimes when you've got a story about kids, about the parents, but they're off doing something else, which is why the kids have an adventure.
Yeah,
but in all of these, the parents are also very full. They feel like fully fleshed characters. They've got a life going on, and you can tell what that life is, even if the film isn't focusing on it. And I got that with this as well. The parents having marital difficulties. Is it Neckbone? His uncle raising him, and they never fully explain all of it, but you can read between the lines pretty well because the characters feel like they have a history.
Yeah, I think that comes through with everybody, doesn't it? I think Neckbone and the uncle, they feel like a nephew and uncle, and the uncle is played by Michael Shannon, who is obviously Jeff Nichols' favourite. Yeah. All of it just feels like we're seeing a glimpse into some people's lives rather than we're seeing some people trying to portray characters. It's really, really well done. And I think, and what you said, I think echoes that idea of like where he grew up and he knows this area. Like he had this idea when he was at college, didn't he? So it'd been percolating in the back of his head for a long time. And having, as you said, growing up there, I think he had some family who lived in a kind of riverboat. And so he really knew this world completely.
Yeah, I think too, we were talking about this during the film. That was the only time we really talked during the film was I asked you, Tim, was this the culture? Like, did you guys have the childhood where they just sit you outside and you just go do whatever you do? I think that is a very like American, like South, maybe Southern American thing, is that the parents aren't really worried about the kids. That you go outside, you have the boat, you take the truck, you do whatever you're gonna do. You just go outside, and it was just so like nostalgic for me to watch this, because I didn't grow up in Arkansas, but I do have family in Arkansas, so family trips happened. So I experienced a lot of what they did. You find something in the woods and you build a house out of it, and you go back every day over the week. Like, it's just, this is such like pinnacle childhood in Southern America.
And the kind of rural things as well, that I know Arkansas is different to Texas, but it didn't feel a million miles away to the places that I've managed to visit now. But it is not. It is a million miles away from where I grew up. I grew up in a large town near big cities, whereas, we didn't really have the woods to go and explore, or a river or anything like that. We had none of this. And the idea of a kid having their own motorbike and hopping on that and getting around, and that was not part of my lived experience. But then to see it, you do see it depicted in films. I like the fact that this is a bit of a throwback to like a Mark Twain kind of story, Huckleberry Finn. And it just kind of reminds you that I remember reading Huckleberry Finn at school, and you think, well, this feels very similar, but nothing had changed in that century or however long that was. And as Amber says, she's experienced this, she's seen this. There are still parts of America that feel like that. And it's really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've read about, obviously, those being inspirations for him. I don't think I've read either of those books, Tom Sawyer or Huckleberry Finn. That's a big gap for me, I think, that I need to fill at some point. But I saw like Stand By Me also being like spoken about a lot too. And I can see that, because I feel like I did have a bit more of that childhood. I grew up in a village, and it was very much like, have my breakfast, mum, bye, be home for dinner, son. And we'd be off on our bikes and playing football on the field, and just would literally be out all day and would just come home. Sadly, I didn't have my own that I built for myself scramble bike, because that is rad. That is so cool. And we've got to talk about Neckbone, because he is an absolute legend in this movie.
Yeah.
He stole every scene.
He absolutely did. Yeah.
Yeah. Always the best lines with him.
All the best lines he got, but also his deadpan delivery is just so good. Like little moments like when they've met Juniper, and some of the things that he says to her and to when they leave, and he's like, "Come on, hard on, whore," or something like that. Let's go hard on. It's so good. But he had this little throw moments, didn't he? And for a guy who just I'll send in a video, see if I can get this role again. Just this absolute magic on screen from this like amateur, this new person to the profession.
Yeah, I think that came through so well with the kids, because in rural towns like that, I think there's a culture of you've got to scrounge, you've got to figure it out. Like you can't always drive to the next city. It may not have what you need. You've got to figure this out. So I think Neckbone and Ellis like were perfectly cast, not only for their looks, but also just that preteen or that teenage boy era of scrounging and figuring it out. Not just about life, because we see this journey through Ellis's eyes, learning about love and what that means, and family life and all of this stuff, but also physical things. Like you got to figure out if you want to build a boat, you got to figure it out. You can't ask everybody to help you. You got to work on it yourself.
Yeah.
I did like how they looked. Like, as soon as they were on screen, I was like, oh yeah, okay, I'm in. Like, these are characters. This isn't like, they're not casting from the latest CW show, whatever it might be. Like, they've been picked because they are right for these roles. Obviously, Ty Sheridan's gone on to be a big success, but at this point, he'd only been in Tree of Life, hadn't he? So they were cast to be these people, and I think it works so well. Like, their chemistry is great, and I just totally buy that they are from this community. They're like kind of the river folk, aren't they? There's this kind of river folk townie divide as well, which I really enjoyed in the movie. I ain't no townie. It was good. I really like that too.
And I mean, not to spoil the end, but by the time the end, third or whatever came up, I was petrified for these kids. There was a certain point where we looked at each other like something bad's going to happen, and I don't want anything to happen to these kids. And that was just a sign that the film was really working.
It does have that. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, well, that you really felt for them, but also you knew there was trouble coming, but you just don't want them to be hurt in it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. You can feel that sense of like impending doom. It has that kind of tragic sense about it all the way through, doesn't it? And it's building and building and building. Because, and we know with a coming of age story, to use that term, we know there has to be some sort of dramatic event in order for that to be the thing that helps them learn something about the world. So is it finding the dead body and Stand By Me or whatever it might be? Yeah, we knew there was going to be something at some point. And obviously we really knew it was going to be focused around McConaughey's Mud.
Yeah. I really loved how they built the tension, and I think they threw us off the scent a little bit too, because there's one point where you see Ellis talk to Neckbone's uncle, where he says, "Don't get yourself into something you can't get him out of," because he was worried about whatever was going. He still didn't ask the questions, which is just so interesting to me, because that's also very true of the culture. Is that actually the parents never really asked what was going on because they had their own stuff to worry about. And that is so true to the culture. But the tension building was excellent.
He said like Neckbone looks up to you, didn't he? So whatever you guys are up to at the moment, I know you're up to something. You're right. Like make sure it's not something you can't get out of, or he gets in trouble because he's looking up to you for. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think from that point forward in the movie, I was expecting, oh no, something's going to happen to Neckbone, and Alice is going to be like
that was my worry.
Up the creek. But that was a really good like red herring almost.
Yeah, particularly because we'd had that talk earlier about like how much Neckbone hates snakes, and we'd seen the snakes in the river.
Every time they go past the snakes, let's just give us another shot of the snakes. We know they're there. So that's gonna have to come back in some way. Yeah. But also when you know that there's this literal posse of bad guys who we've been told are the worst of the worst, and there's not a good man among them. And you're like, okay, well, they have no problem hitting a child. What happens when they get caught up in worse? And sure enough, we can see a little of where this is going to go, but the fact that we care about the kids so much just shows how, their lives feel fully fleshed out and how great the performances were.
Oh, they really are the worst of the guys, aren't they? I mean, I think we were careful with Bernie, and I think we did a great job of tiptoeing around and giving enough away. I think here it's okay. I think there's some things I really want to talk about, so I think we're just going to go full spoiler today, if you guys are comfortable doing that.
Yeah, let's do it.
So by the end, they just storm these bloody people's house and they're shooting it up. They don't care anything, do they, about who they're going to take out on their mission to get to McConaughey's Mud. They're just literally walking into these other people's house, blasting holes in it, not thinking about the collateral damage that's going to come from it. They are definitely like quote unquote bad guys, aren't they?
Yeah. I think too, the River Authority, so we don't see many houseboats anymore. It seems to kind of be the theme throughout the movie that there's Tom across the way, their house, but she wants to move to town, so that they're going to take it apart because
it's like a dying way of life.
It is kind of a dying way of life. So this does feel like they took that sense of authority onto themselves. It didn't really matter what happened to the house because they're going to tear it up anyway. Like, I think that's kind of not, I don't want to say I'm playing devil's advocate because I don't agree with what they did. But I think, that's why they didn't really.
I hadn't even thought of it that way. That's really interesting. Yeah.
And
it's just floating junk anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. Amber hates sitting next to me for certain films like this because when there's something shocking happens, I do have a habit of jumping. So when someone shot through a wall, I got to be honest, I was expecting them to start shooting when he left the building. I didn't expect someone to shoot through the wall. So yes, I jumped a foot and gave you a shock as well. But when it really kicks off, it does. It really does. It tells you everything you need to know about these guys, that they don't care that there's an innocent family in there that have nothing to do with them. They don't care that there's children there. They are well aware that there are children there. The only, I mean, it's not even a point where you think that they're nice, but they do say, let the kid go and get out of here. But it's more just because they don't want to have to hold on to him.
Because they've got neckbone as a hostage, haven't they? Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's more that they just care about being able to get into the fight rather than not wanting him to get hurt. They don't care about who they're shooting at.
Yeah.
There was a great moment earlier. So when Joe Don Baker's King comes in and everyone sort of gets everyone to take a knee and all that, showing his power. I thought that's such a brilliant scene when he was like, let's all hold hands. And you can see all these kind of like biker men and like these big burly dudes all like, oh, cool, got to hold hands. And then asked for them to pray for the death of the character of Mud. I thought, wow, what an interesting scene. Like I really like that dichotomy between like belief in God, but then asking God to allow you to be able to murder somebody, I thought was really telling of like these people and who they were.
Yeah.
I would go so far as to say that's also part of the culture. I'm not going to say that people were out there doing that, but I do think that a religious belief is such a fluid part of that culture that it is going to like ingratiate every part of every single person's life, whatever you do. So like cops there feel very similar to this.
And I mean, it encapsulates the term righteous justice, doesn't it? That they think that their form of justice is right. They really believe eye for an eye, and they feel like it's in their hands to go get that. And Jack, you and I grew up in a culture that does not involve guns and this kind of thing. So it's such a different way of life to see. But then, as Amber points out, you can believe that these are real people in that culture, and I can completely believe that they still exist.
Yeah.
There is sorry, Amber, go on.
No, sorry. I was just going to say, yeah, it kind of speaks to the fact that, yes, this was shot and shown 2012, 2013, but you can't really see that.
It feels
older. It feels old.
I mean, have we checked when it officially is set? Because it does feel pre-mobile phone pretty much, doesn't it? Everyone's using their landlines, but at the same time, it's almost got this kind of timeless quality to it.
Yeah.
I think that's the perfect way for it. And that's why I kept seeing people talk about Stand By Me, because I think that's the same. That feels very lived in Stand By Me. It's set in the 60s, but it came out in the 80s. And it kind of has a weird bit of both those decades, but also you can watch it now and it would still work. It still works as a movie. It sounds like kids going on an adventure. And I think this has that same timeless quality. I think you could watch this if it was based in the 80s and believe it was then. You could watch this believing it was based in 2012. You could watch this as we have just done now and believe it could be set now. No problem at all, really. I think because of the type of people it's about, we can kind of believe that they might not be able to afford a mobile phone or don't want. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think that. Yeah. But I mean, it would ruin it if they had a phone at any point. So I think it's kind of one of those things that. It's one of those stories that has to be set a little bit before phones or feel like it is to some degree, or that has to be set in an area where you go, actually, they don't need to be on the phones. That's not an important part of the story. But you insert some modern technology into it, you would ruin the story.
Is there any signal out there on the Mississippi River anyway? I'm not sure. Exactly. But that might have been interesting to see like the townie girls and the townie groups, if they'd had like mobile phones and stuff. But you're right, I'm trying to wrap my brains now. Even the girls who come out the car at the very end of the movie, they seem to be chatting and nobody seems to be on their device today. So very interesting.
The only thing that would pinpoint a time period to me was the clothes, like the clothing style specifically for the women, and also all of the hairstyles for the women felt very 2010s to me.
Oh, really? Felt that?
Yeah.
Up to date?
I know that nobody had a device, but I think that was kind of when the divide started happening, right? Is like 2010, 2012 is kind of when everyone had phones, but they didn't use them as much as they do now. Everyone had like razors and like they weren't smartphones fully yet.
Yeah, it could even be that.
That's the only thing that kind of gave it away to me was makeup choice for some of the girls at the end.
Yeah.
Back when phones were phones.
Yeah.
You mentioned Tom, who I think is a fascinating character. I think, like I wrote in my review, I think I would actually watch a prequel just about his character. In fact, what I'd really quite like to see is almost like I don't know if you guys have read Heat 2, but in Heat 2, it's set before and after Heat. So you see kind of the origin of some characters, and then the ones who make it through Heat, you see like what happens to them afterwards. I'd love to know more about Tom. He's such a fascinating character, played by Sam Shepard.
Yeah, and I love that there's this whole thread throughout the film about these half-truths. That, you know, you're told something, but okay, that's kind of true, but not completely. So we're told that he is, a sniper? And he's like, I'm not a sniper. An assassin, that's it. He's an assassin. He's like, no, I was just a marksman. I wasn't really an assassin, but I suppose from a certain point of view, I was. And then you're like, by the time you get to the end, you're thinking, this guy has more skills than he's letting on. He was very much with it. And I loved his character. I mean, I know you did too.
Oh yeah, he was great. The fact that I loved how he played this father role as well, because we see a couple of father-son dynamics here.
True.
And he kind of plays this father role to Mud, and that he says, I'm not going to help you. Sorry, I'm done. But he does. He keeps showing up and he keeps helping.
And the other theme that tied into that was about what does it really mean to be a man? And that actually, you know, in some way, each of these men in the film is doing what he thinks it means to be a man. That, you know, even, the mobster kind of family, they're doing what they think it means to be men. And, you know, then Tom, what does it mean to kind of be someone's surrogate father? I'm going to do what it means. I'm loyal to him. I don't think he's right, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to help him out in a pinch. And it just gives the kids this, you know, not one bad role model, not one good role model, but it gives them a whole range of role models to see. And you kind of get that feeling by the end of the film is they've been taking all this in, and now they've got to decide, what does it mean to be a man? And I think it's just such a subtle, it's mentioned specifically through the film, but it's also subtle enough and kind of naturally developed enough for it to be not heavy-handed.
It's so layered, actually, isn't it? Because the sense of, you used the word surrogate there, because you're right, that kind of Tom Mud surrogate parent thing, but Mud is kind of a surrogate dad for Ellis, really, a little bit throughout this movie, and obviously the uncle's a surrogate for Neckbone, and we have this all the way through, don't we? And I love what you said there, Tim, about this idea that they're finding their own path, and they're doing that by taking in all these different worldviews from all these different people, and all of them are kind of, other than obviously the king and the group, all of them are essentially good people, I think, aren't they? But they all are flawed people as well, of course. You know, Tom and Mud and the uncle, all very flawed people in the way that they treat others or certain views they have about the world. Really fascinating that these two boys are kind of having to navigate that to become who they see as the right person to be.
Yeah, I think I loved the contrast that Matthew McConaughey's character Mud brought into this. That a lot, you see these other men say, you got to protect yourself, you be careful, you watch out for yourself. But then Mud, you say, no, you have to protect her. And that is such a stark contrast to all of these other men that are like, no, forget the woman, she's going to rip your heart out. But we see Mud's characters getting his heart ripped out over and over, but he says, it doesn't matter, you have to protect her. So it was and that was the thing that Ellis really latched onto, because he was kind of going through this love himself. So he latched onto the protect her, and that was him through the whole movie. He saw how much it hurt, but that was a good.
He punches at least two guys because and at which point you think, oh, is he going to turn into Mud? Like you can see the number of times we're told, oh, you're the same age that he was when he met Juniper, and so you're like, right, okay, they're basically saying, oh, you're going to kind of follow in his footsteps. But you also then see these really strong other father figures, and you're like, actually, he doesn't have to go that path. This is not a foregone conclusion. And I think that's just such a nice way of developing that too, is, yes, you protect your woman, but at the same time, don't go as far as Mud does.
Yeah. And this is very Daniel LaRusso, isn't he? Charges in, punches first, and gets his ass kicked by the bigger bully, the bigger teenage boy. I loved all that stuff. Yeah, it's so great, because even the dad character, I think he's just known as Senior, isn't he? Like through the whole movie, he's obviously they're having marriage difficulties. She's wanting to move away, as you said. They're looking at separating, and he's very negative about her and about their relationship and about what it's like to be in a marriage. And actually, as somebody who has been through a breakup and their child is involved, I can have some sympathy there. You think you're doing the right thing, but you're aware of the pain that's going on for everybody involved. And it's a really difficult situation to manage, and you do not manage it correctly all the time. I really liked how that ended, the scene with those two together in the car, and the dad ultimately saying, look, this is what's now happening, and now you've got to look out for your mum and you've got to listen to her. And I really liked that kind of, for a while he was demonizing her, but I can kind of understand why. I think it's kind of almost healthy. He has to purge that. It's not healthy to say it to Ellis, but it's kind of healthy for him to purge how he feels about this situation. But by the end, he'd managed it, and then he was managing how they were moving forward. So I thought that was a really nice touch.
Yeah.
And I think that there was a scene before even that one, which is when Ellis is in bed recovering from the hospital, and his mum and dad are there side by side, arm around each other, and it's very much we disagree about where we should live. We disagree about how we should live. But what we don't disagree on is that the boy needs us, and that's just such a nice, it's just clear throughout.
Yeah.
Yes, they argue in front of him and all the rest, but they both look after him. And when he's in trouble, they come together to look after him. And at the end, like you say, he says, fine, this is the situation now. We're dealing with it. Let's make the best of it. Will I see you next week? Of course you will. I'm going to be around. I'm not going to be an absent father. And it's just such a, that's the good input into his life that Ellis needs to counteract anything else. So I just think that the film kind of does leave you in a place where you're like, I would not mind revisiting all these characters a couple of years down.
Yeah.
It's something I think Nichols is so good at. That moment you spoke about, he's really good at these small moments, because the mum sat on the bed, isn't she? And the dad comes up behind her, and then she's starting to be overwhelmed with kind of the emotions of what they've been through, understandably so. And he just lays a hand on her shoulder, doesn't he? And then she just put her hand on his. And I was totally like getting choked up on the sofa watching it, thinking like, oh, wow, I can just, these small moments are just really impactful and powerful within the movie, but feel, again, authentic and true. It doesn't need to be showy. It doesn't need to be ostentatious. It's just this small moment between them matters. Ellis notices it, and it matters. Yeah, really impactful, really powerful.
Yeah. I think part of the Southern culture too is to take how do I want to say this? Like, you follow in the footsteps of your father's business. And so we see Ellis helping his dad. That I just wanted to point out too, that there's actually that seems almost unhealthy sometimes because of how young he's starting to work. And but there are several moments we see in the film where he sits him down and he says, do you know I love you? Like, yeah, which I think was such a positive thing, because I don't think that we see a lot of that portrayed in that culture. We just see them, they work hard, and by the actions that they love you. They don't say it. But there was like several nice moments where he said, okay, I love you. And he said, okay, I love you too. Like, I thought it was just a sweet little bond that they had. They did work together, so they knew each other's actions. They knew how they worked with each other, but it was nice to actually see a man in this kind of culture actually sit down and say it.
Yeah. And then you've got other characters who kind of, that, like you say, they kind of just show it. So you've got Neckbone and his uncle Galen, and they also work together, and they seem happy to do so, but they're not talkers. They don't, they clearly don't talk about their feelings, although the uncle is clearly trying to teach him how to be a ladies' man at the same time. Oh, my uncle does well, I'll teach you all the tricks he teaches me. But it's maybe not the upbringing that the kid needs, but at the same time, he's a very attentive and loving uncle. And it's not through words, it is again through just being there for him. So there's some really good, father figures, parental figures, masculine figures in this film that I think kind of maybe buck certain trends or stereotypes that, as again, give us a feeling that this film is coming from someone who has lived it and has good lived experience, rather than just somebody who lives somewhere else going, I'm going to write about the South and I'll base it on everything I think I know.
Yeah, it's what I've actually... he has a kind of Spielbergian sense in that way, doesn't he? Like Spielberg leans into sentimentality and more often than not leans into divorce and absent fathers. But Nichols himself is kind of the anti-Spielberg, I suppose, maybe. He leans into the idea of like fathers making conscious decisions to be active in their children's lives. Yeah, definitely. It's really interesting. And again,
sometimes to their detriment as well, though, that, that the fathers take very decisive action in all of his films. And it's the father's actions are often what, spurs momentum in the film. But it's always a protective or overprotective action. And I think that's an interesting thing that he does bring back again and again in these three films, especially.
Even McConaughey's Mud, you could argue, fits that category, can't you, as well, as like a surrogate. I mean, the way, Amber, you mentioned that how he talks about Juniper and he'll do anything for her, but then how he comes to feel about Ellis and Neckbone as well. It's really clear how fond he is of them. So when we get the inevitable tragic event involving the snakes, his reaction is so immediate and so like, I don't know, like it bursts off the screen with like, again, this isn't McConaughey acting. This is Mud really cares about this moment. I was so locked into
life.
Oh,
it was so quiet and gentle up until that point. And then at this point, it's, I mean, I genuinely thought this was going to turn into a chase scene. Like the other guys are going to spot him and they're going to follow him. This is the point where he puts himself at mortal risk. But that whole sequence is just electric, really.
Oh, it really is, yeah.
Yeah. It was good. I'm just reliving it in my mind. Yeah, it was excellent. He did such a good job of just, I think Mud, all through the movie, we hear people saying, he's a bad guy. He's not good company. You don't need to be around him. But actually, he continues to prove otherwise. And his actions were flawed. But I do see him showing up maybe as someone he needed when he was that age. Like, I think Tom did that for him when he was that age. And that that boy needs something. I got to do it. Like, there wasn't a hemming and hawing thought process about it. It was, he needs it. I'm going.
Yeah. He doesn't think twice about going to the mainland and putting himself around other people who are very clearly looking for him.
Oh, it's such a, it's like a foot chase, a boat chase, a bike. It was so good, wasn't it? It was just like bang, bang, bang. Like everything was just so instinctive and kinetic and exciting. And I mean, if I was a 13-year-old boy and I came across Matthew McConaughey looking the way he does in this movie, the way that shirt hangs off him, with the luscious locks, I mean, I think I would have fallen surrogate father in love with him as well. I mean, I get why these two boys are drawn to him as a character.
Yeah,
Mud is a very seductive kind of guy, isn't he? I get why people fall for him.
He's also kind of living the life that the boys wish they could live if they didn't have school and other family responsibilities.
Yeah.
If you think it's a film I think it's called Kings of Summer, where they go and live out in the woods, and it's, you can see that these boys, if they didn't have to be anywhere else, they would be playing around that boat. They would love to go and live in it. That was their plan. So they get there and they realize, oh, someone's already living it. He's beating us to it. But it's almost like Mud is doing what he did as a kid, and he's doing it again now as an adult because it works. I know no one's going to find me here. So they don't just look up to him as like a father figure, but also he could just be a big kid, which is that's kind of funny as well when you see that, you know, they're just jealous of everything he's got. He's just like a cool big kid to them.
Man, I just love this era of Matthew McConaughey. What a juicy, beautiful, deep role he could sink his teeth into compared to just a few years earlier where he was in this rom-com era, which was an era, I get it, but this is so much better in my opinion.
It is, but it feels like, I think we've said this before in an earlier episode, but it feels like, you know, he has to pass through that fire, he has to get through that trial, because the characters he's playing now, I think it was the Killer Joe episode, really are that combination, because he has that charm, he has that charisma, he has that smoothness that we all associate with McConaughey from those roles. But now he's just layering in that extra depth that, you know, here there's just a little prickly danger about Mud. But again, that's attractive to a 13-year-old boy, right? There's this cool, good-looking guy who's got a gun and he keeps going on about this shirt, how important it is, and you don't really get why, but he looks good in it and he's all sun-kissed. But also, he feels a little bit dangerous, and that's exciting. And I think he's bringing those two worlds together now so perfectly in this kind of era of his career.
There's also like maybe a level of humility there as well, that, you know, he was a leading man for so long doing these rom-coms and being the guy that they were going to offer oodles of money to take on a leading rom-com role. But now here he's doing this small budget film that we know didn't go on to massive success, that he is the title character. And yes, his face is very clearly on the posters, but he is not the lead of this film. He is not even he's not even the person who's on screen the most.
Nowhere near, yeah.
Nowhere near. There's big chunks of the film that are, you know, maybe spurred by his character, but don't involve his character. He's miles away in the quiet on an island. But McConaughey's still doing this role. You know, this isn't a showy, glamorous, looks good, feels good role. It's a meaty role for him to show, actually, I've got range, I've got depth, and I want to do good films. And, you know, he's picked the film, not the role. He's, you know, it's, I think, is it Tom Cruise who says, do that, pick the film, not the role. And McConaughey's doing it, and look at how it's paying off for him.
Yeah, it's fascinating to know Nichols wrote this for him as well, to think that, you know, all those years ago, he saw that in McConaughey. So he said he's, after seeing him in Lone Star, which he's in for 15 minutes, 20 minutes maybe, and he's decent in it, but it felt like a little bit too early in his career to have the full gravitas and the full depth, but he's definitely bringing it now. And it's interesting that Nichols saw it and was like, this is the guy. And all those years later, went straight to him, wanted him for the role. Yeah, certainly saw that in him that we are now getting to see in all of his performances.
It's really cool to see him to play this role of like almost ghost story legendy kind of that's a big thing, I would say, in rural Texas, Arkansas area is campfire stories. That's a huge thing. And to tell these rumors and legends about these cool people around town. Oh, remember old Tom? Like, you know, it's a whole vibe. So for him to, you know, he was in rural Texas. He kind of understands the legends and these rumors, and to be able to actually sink his teeth into this role, who is this legend of Mud, who's this kid that didn't really nobody knows where he came from. He's a kid that grew up in the woods. Like, that's what a cool rumor to play.
Yeah, he's kind of an outlaw, isn't he, really? He's, you know, outside of, you know, expected norms, and he'll do what it takes, and he'll do anything for his... Yeah, I like that idea, that sense of like, he's just this myth, he's kind of Jesse James or somebody like that, yeah.
And the way that it ends is perfect for that. Like, it almost ends the way he'd want it to end.
I really want to talk about the ending. You go, and then we'll talk about it, yeah.
But it's just the fact that, you know, we kind of have started rooting for him. We do buy into at least half of the truths that he's telling. So we kind of don't want to see him, you know, come to a mortal demise. And we don't want this mob to win. So the way that the film ends, you know, you could have left it on a cliffhanger. We don't know. And that would have been fine. But at the same time, it just gives this little taste of hope. And also the fact that he survives this shootout, but is also presumed dead. But to the kids, they're like, I don't know. I'm going to hope he's alive, but I don't know. And you know that for the rest of their lives, that's going to be it. That he's probably not going to come back and write them a letter and say, don't worry, guys, I'm okay. He's going to do the smart thing, mentored by Tom, to go, I'm going to disappear now. So for the rest of their lives, they're going to tell this tale of this man who was shot, but he might be dead. He might not. His body was never found. And like Amber says, that's the tale that will be told around campfires in that, you know, on that river for, you know, decades to come. And that makes it such a really satisfying ending to this film.
It's interesting you say that. I'm not sure if I feel the same, because I think because I wanted the cliffhanger. I get why they ended it in the way that they did, and it's a nice little moment seeing him and Tom on the boat, and you know, father and son reconciliations all over the place, other than King and his now 2 dead sons, but you know, they got what they deserved. I don't know. I feel like, because we get that moment with the uncle underwater, don't we? And we see the shirt, and it makes you think, oh fuck, that's mud under there. He didn't make it. And then, as you said, the boys then talk about it, and your heart comes back up a little bit again, and you're like, yeah, I know. I want to feel like they do. So I'm just going to hope that wasn't him, or hope that was just a shot of him. Then I think I would have preferred leaving it open-ended and leaving it ambiguous. Yeah. I think it's the Bond Ultimatum ends in quite a similar way, right? When he jumps out the building and he's been shot.
Yeah.
And he's floating in the river.
Yeah.
And it echoes back to the very first shot of Bourne Identity when they find him floating in the sea. And I always wish that film ended like 30 seconds before, because it holds and it holds and it holds. And then he starts swimming away. And I always think, oh, fuck, just don't show me him swimming away. Like, let me decide. I kind of like those endings. So I don't know. I think I would have liked the ambiguity.
Yeah. I love that too. I like filmmakers being bold, but I just wonder if the problem with that would have been, but then the bad guys have won. That's the only reason to show us that he's not died, is that it's not all for nothing. Because otherwise you do end up with the end of the film thinking, well, you know, yeah, they got shot too, but they did get him. Or, you know, I suppose it's just to give you that little thing that they didn't win.
It's a hopeful movie. It's an optimistic movie, isn't it, at the end of the day? So it needs to end with that note. I get it. Maybe I'm just a pessimist and I'm a glass half empty kind of guy.
I like the idea. I think that's cool. I never would have even thought about such a bold ending, but that would have been pretty cool to see it, I guess. Yeah.
But maybe the fact you didn't think about it, you know, it obviously did totally work for you then, Amber. You just felt like this was the natural place that this movie should end, with the kind of open shot of water and knowing that Mud was going to go off to whatever his next destination is going to be.
I think it's just because his, like I said about his like legendary character in the form of a story, that is kind of maybe where I would have thought it would have gone. Like he ebbs and flows out of the life, just like the river. Like he did make it. He's somewhere out there on that river. He's somewhere out there in the Gulf of, like, I don't know where he's at, but he's out there. I don't know, but maybe that's just a culture. I really don't know. I'm not a film critic.
You are now.
Yeah, of course you are. You are here critiquing a film, so you definitely are.
Yeah.
I really liked that he owned it as well by the end. So like when him and Ellis are talking in the bedroom, he comes to see him. I thought it was really nice. And he was like, Ellis is like, but you are a good person. And Mud was like, look, I'm not, but I'm going to try to be. I really like that idea of like, this was like almost like his coming of age movie as well as Ellis's one. Like we said at the start, I thought that was a really nice moment between them in the bedroom of like, Mud has to now actually stop making excuses, stop following Juniper all over America, and just like kind of own what his future is going to be. So yeah, I totally understand why Nichols did it. And I think it is the right move for the movie. I think I'm just, like I say, I err on the cynical edge. So I quite like that ambiguous did he, didn't he kind of ending.
Can we talk about for just a second?
Please.
I'm a girl.
Yeah, it's boy heavy movie.
Can we talk about the betrayal, the portrayal of women in this film. Just for a second. I mean, maybe this is a hot take, but I loved it.
Okay.
Because I think a lot of movies like this, especially Westerns, you always see them go this femme fatale route, and like the woman is always this like desirable thing, but we see the reality of these women and how they treat men. But growing up in this area, like you see the mom, you see his girlfriend for a second, May Pearl, and you see Juniper.
Yeah.
And all three of these ladies, I thought they did such a good job of not throwing them under the bus and saying women are terrible, but he did such a good job about portraying them that if they have bad upbringings, if they've got stuff they're dealing with, they're not going to treat men the way they should. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I like the fact that, you know, we keep getting told, really, she's kind of selfish. She does just look out for herself. And that, you know, there are people like that. It's a flaw, but she's not ever villainized to be evil. She's not, yes, she's selfish, but she's not self-serving exactly. You know, she's not using Mud. She just doesn't know quite what she's going to do. She's more indecisive than anything at some points. And yeah, I thought all of the female characters were, you got a glimpse of both sides of them, that even though we're seeing it mainly through the men's eyes and certain aspects of them, you can also see, like, I never fully thought that, was it May Pearl was going to be his girlfriend? And like, she's older than him and she's clearly got other boys after her, but she's being nice to him at first. Yes, she loses that later, but you know, she does treat him nicely for a bit.
But see, I think it's the same thing with Juniper.
Yeah.
I think that's what she did to Mud, because he's got that bad boy thing in him that is dangerous, and girls do like that. But it was never going to be him.
Yeah.
Because that's just not,
she doesn't settle down.
She can't. I don't. Well, and I've always loved this quote that you accept the love you think you deserve. And I think she's a good portrayal of that. I think that she knows that Mud would treat her so good. He protects her. He tries everything in the world for her, but
she won't let him love her.
She won't let him. Yeah. I just thought that was just, it was just a good portrayal. I really liked that.
Yeah. I agree. Sorry to interrupt. I was going to back her up and say, like, because she has her own self kind of realization moment, doesn't she, in the motel room, when that's what she kind of says to Ellis, was like, I can't, the reason I didn't come, the reason this isn't going to work is because I can't. This won't work for us. It won't work for me. I'm not that person. So she realizes that she has to probably let Mud go, and then he realizes that he has to let her go. And that's a really nice moment between them, I thought, when Mud was down in the car park by her apartment, and they sort of look at each other and say goodbye. I thought that was sweet. There are a couple of moments like that. I thought when the boys first see her in the car park was amazing, because Mud had been talking about, like, how she's the most beautiful woman in the world, and then Reese Witherspoon turns up and she's got the blonde hair and the kind of short skirt, and she's all dolled up in that kind of way you would imagine her to be for this kind of character. And the boys' eyes are like bloody cartoon characters popping out on stalks. I thought it was hilarious. Totally distracted from the teenage girls at this late 20, 30 something women who's just totally got their attention. But Reese Witherspoon was a very small role, but I thought she was really good. I totally bought her again as the character.
Yeah.
What state is she from?
Ooh, I don't know.
She's a southern gal, isn't she?
She does do these southern roles, doesn't she? But I just thought, I
feel like she's been mentioned to be from Tennessee.
New Orleans.
Oh, New Orleans.
Yeah.
Louisiana.
So
okay, well, there you go.
Do they share a border with...
Louisiana's right there.
Right there,
They call it the Arklatex because it's Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas all border each other.
Okay.
So
she was a great choice.
Yeah, she was.
And Sarah Paulson plays the mum again. She's fantastic. Another character who has minimal screen time, but layers her performance with pathos, and you really understand how this woman feels. She's been trapped here for so long, and she just knows she deserves something else. She deserves a bit more. And she's given herself for at least 13 years, if not longer. I think that we get the idea, don't we, that it's been longer. That was their family's houseboat. again, like totally on. She's not demonized. She's not the bad guy, despite the father saying it at points. We as the viewers don't see that. We are totally on her side. We understand her position.
And is that maybe a part of this theme of breaking cycles of that it was her family's boat? You know, she grew up here, and you think surely she should be attached to it. I think that's kind of what the dad's saying. He's like, I don't know why she'd want to move. This is crazy. Why would you want to become a townie? But maybe she's thinking, look, I can see that this is not sustainable. I'm going to break the cycle. We're going to go and live somewhere else before, you know, we get stuck here. And then you've got, you know, Mud trying to break this cycle that he's in with Juniper. You know, maybe there's that kind of theme throughout.
Yeah, she also alludes to the fact that her father gave him that job. Like, that's the only reason that they have a house and that they can live there is because her family brought Senior. Is that what his name is?
I think so, yeah.
Into the family. And so then he's trying to raise his son in this family business, but it's like, okay, it's not your family's business to begin with. That's kind of a big deal. And I know I keep talking about the culture of Southern life, but it's true. That is part of it.
Had an interesting parallel to No Country in that moment as well. Like, I don't know if you remember in the famous coin toss scene, it's spoken about there, the idea of the garage owner has inherited that role from his wife because his wife's dad passed it on. And I thought that's really interesting. There's this commentary going on here about this era of American history where things are kind of being passed on, but people don't really want it, or they're being passed on maybe not to the right person, or if you only have a daughter to pass it on to, you pass it on to their daughter's husband. I thought there's some interesting commentary going on in these movies here about this kind of era of change and maybe gentrification, and I don't know.
And father figures stepping in. My daughter likes this boy. He hasn't got much of a future. I'll give him a career so that he can look after my future grandkids. You know, it's men stepping in to fill in that need. And it's kind of, it makes it even more touching when you stop and think about it. And you know, I don't know if we're going to watch this again anytime soon, but you know, if we'll watch it again, those themes are going to come through even stronger now. So, yeah.
I think the only thing that we haven't spoken about that was on my mind, and I'll ask both of you, is McConaughey's teeth.
Oh,
distracting or
yeah.
I don't know. Like, did it feel a little bit too much, or you tell me?
I think it felt right.
I thought it was perfect. My only complaint was that they were too white.
Right. Okay.
Like, if you're gonna have teeth that look like that, you need to show the life on the teeth.
Because he can smoke. He was
a smoker.
Like, he has
nothing,
yellow, but he always has cigarettes.
Oh yeah, I like that idea. Yeah.
You know, he's somehow making that box last. So yeah, I think you're right. Like, they could have been yellower, but if he'd had perfect teeth, it would have been distracting.
Yeah.
So I think it is almost distracting in a way because we know his teeth don't look like that. But for the character, it feels true.
Yeah. So what did you think, Jack? What was...
It was only the first shot really where it really bothered me, when they first see him on the beach and he's like being silhouetted, and the way he was holding the cigarette between his teeth. That always bothers me when people do that. But they were obviously doing that in order to really draw attention to. They're like, oh, look at this. He's a character. He hasn't got his normal teeth. It's like, you know, here's Nicole Kidman with a nose. After that, I sort of forgot, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a little bit like, look what we've done. He's not just your normal McConaughey until he takes his shirt off, of course, later in the movie, which naturally was always going to happen. They're like, whoa, okay, he is still McConaughey. Yeah, it was fine. It was fine. I think it's a nice touch. I like what you said. It was in keeping with who he was, really. But I like that comment as well. The idea, like, they could have pushed that perhaps a bit further.
Yeah, I think the fact that they were so white played into what you said about it being a character. Like, hey, this is clearly different than what you're used to.
Yeah.
But if it was just a yellowed teeth,
I think you could miss spotting just yellowed, whereas they had to be clearly not Hollywood movie stars teeth.
Yeah, I guess.
You know?
I think it would have added to the grit if they had added to the grit of his teeth.
Nice. Yeah. Anything else you guys feel like we haven't spoken about?
Oh, can I talk about the river for a second? the job that Galen does. So that's like a real thing. But
river pearls kind of thing. Isn't
it? Well, not necessarily that specific job, but like searching for things in the river, kind of a treasure hunter kind of.
Yeah, is he a bit like a salvager? Is that what you call it? Or I don't know.
Yeah. But the other thing, I really wish they would have shown it, but this was kind of a common thing when I was growing up. They would always take us noodling. Do you know what that is?
You're going to have to tell us.
So noodling is where you look for catfish with your hands. So you put your hand, because catfish are mud fish. They're all in that river. So what you do is you look for their holes where they burrow in the mud, and you stick your hand in there, and they will bite your hand. Well, they won't bite. It doesn't like hurt, but they swallow your hand, and you pull them out.
Okay.
It's such a old. I really wish they would have incorporated even more of the like rural grit of that. I thought that was such a part of our culture growing up. Wish the boys would have done that a little bit. But that, I think that showing Galen's business that he's making his own helmet, and like it was hilarious, but it's true. Like, again, back to what I said, that you've got to scrounge, you've got to find your own way. If you don't have a family business to take over, you need to find out what it is. The other thing I wanted to talk about, was the bag that Tom left on the porch.
Yeah.
Do y'all remember that?
With the cash and the...
It was cash, whiskey, and some tags.
License
Yeah, because Tim, he was looking at the stuff in the bag, and I could just tell he was just so confused. Like, what is that? And I explained to Tim, just if people over here, I guess that's not really a thing over here. When you live by this river, because they kind of act like, their houses are there on the river, and they've got to have a road, which there's no road, it's the river. That is their highway. So just like a highway code, you would have a river code. So the river authority kind of acts as patrol over this river highway. So every boat that's on the river needs a tag, just like a car does, like a registration tag, to show that it's been inspected, that it's safe to travel on. The police have inspected it. This is actually your boat. So that was such an important...
Because if they'd spotted the boat without the tag, it would have flagged it up straight away. And I didn't twig that straight away.
No, I wouldn't have known that.
Explained that. I was like, oh.
So I just thought I would bring that up, because that was...
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Be like, I remember when we used to have tax discs in the UK. If you drove down the road without your tax disc, well, you're going to get in trouble, because they're going to spot you haven't got one in the window. And I was like, of course, that makes sense. But if you haven't got any experience of this kind of river authority, you might not put two and two together straight away. But thanks for explaining it. Yeah.
That's definitely a detail that passed me by. That's fascinating. I love this idea of just like going out your house and getting on a boat and pootling around. I think I need to move near a canal or near a river, or move to Arkansas, maybe. I don't know.
Imagine you're on a canal boat somehow, Jack. That just feels right.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I've been begging my family to go on a canal boat trip for years. I love the idea of pootling up and down and going in those locks. And yeah,
I love
great.
a houseboat. My grandpa's cousin Benny, that was cousin Benny. It was his house. It was on a river, so it was so cool because the pier. I mean, it's the porch of the house, front porch, but it's on the water. It is very strange. Like, wow, and obviously there's a huge risk of flooding and whatnot, but they
just drowning.
You just didn't worry about that.
Yeah, it takes me back to, Dawson's Creek. They used to poot around in their boats there, didn't they, too? So there's something inside me. I need to go and test this out at some point, I think. I love that idea.
Yeah, do it in the summer when it's real hot and swampy.
Oh.
It might stink.
Yeah.
Lovely.
You've tempered my expectations for that slightly. Thank you. That's probably a good thing. No, that's probably a good thing.
Yeah. Well, I was just trying to give you the authentic experience.
Absolutely.
It's great. It is a great experience. I recommend it to anyone, but it may smell.
It's like go to Venice at the right time of year, right? Because again, that smells a bit swampy and a bit sewagey if you go at the wrong time of year.
Yeah. And watch out for gators.
Definitely watch out for those bad boys. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, a couple of letterbox reviews.
Okay.
Yeah.
Should we start positive or should we build up to the positive?
Let's start positive because we're in the positive mood about this.
We are, definitely. Okay, Joe LZ14 says, what an exceptionally underrated film. I'd even say at this moment that Mud is the most underrated film that I've come across watching in a long while. I went in expecting it to be okay, but it turned out to be utterly fantastic. The plot is great, and McConaughey, the GOAT, delivers a standout performance as usual. The film has a Stand By Me vibe and really reminded me of the adventures of Huckleberry Finn, with Jim hiding out on the island. It was mysterious, yet effortlessly entertaining, hooking you right from the very beginning. 5 out of 5.
He's right.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I've got to say, that's pretty much echoes everything I feel about this movie. I was really blown away by it when I watched it the other day.
Yeah.
I feel like that does mean you need to read Huckleberry Finn. I think that is very accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll put it on my list, I think. Okay. L. Hosford, desperately average, mostly boring film that delved into the cliches of this area. No character was uniquely drawn or portrayed, the plot was straightforward and predictable, and the subtext was far too blindingly obvious to the point of frustration. Some nice scenes with McConaughey and Sam Shepard made me stick it out until the end. Really disappointing to see someone make 2 almost great movies that captured the nuance of its characters so well resort to this. A real shame.
Ooh.
I don't get that at all. Like, I think this works so well in the context of Take Shelter and Midnight Special. And I'd love to see that person's review of Bike Riders when Nichols gets to that. Because then you're getting to a point where he's maybe not got quite the nuance of character that you're hoping for. But at this point, yeah, I would not say that these were cliched particularly.
Yeah, them's fighting words.
Well, you know, you've as you previously today on previous episodes, Amber, you are our font of authenticity and of information on these kind of areas, and you wouldn't agree with that, I don't think, would you?
No, but to each their own. I also respect everyone else's view, so I get it.
Yeah, but that's wrong. This is what I always say. You're allowed to have your opinion, and you're allowed to be wrong.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, brilliant. So, yeah, we've had a good run, haven't we? We did Bernie before this, and that was a good movie. We did The Wedding Planner, slightly less good. And we started our journey with A Time to Kill. So it's been an interesting path for us so far, hasn't it? Where would you put this one? Is this a classic worth catching or completist? And how do you feel it fits in with kind of our journey in McConaughey so far?
Oh, we always have differing views on these, don't we? All 3 of us. Where would you begin?
This needs to be on the classic list. I don't think it is. A lot of people don't mention it, but I think it's absolutely classic. It needs to be watched.
Yeah, you see, I'm always awkward, aren't I? So I would say for McConaughey, if you're saying, I want to talk about his classic films, this isn't going to be on his obituary, I don't think. It should be because of the quality of the film, but it's not all about him. It's a good film with or without him. He is excellent in it, but I don't think he is the key to it being excellent. Whereas some other films fail without his charm. Whereas this works because it does play to some of his lesser used strengths. So I'd say people need to watch this to see his range. But I can also imagine that, you know, if you're just shortlisting all of his films, this maybe doesn't make the top 3.
It's interesting, isn't it? I think I understand. So you're worth catching, really.
Yeah, definitely. You're giving me my wife is giving me a look which says this film is better than I know the film is great. I just don't think it's not just great because of Matthew McConaughey.
I get it.
So it depends on what context we're talking about. If we're talking about films that you should watch, absolutely, this is one of them. But when you talk about if you've only got a day to watch a range of his films. Is this one of the ones that makes the list? I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think for me, of the films I've watched of his filmography so far, this is right up there. I would say this is probably top 3 in terms of how good of a film it is.
Yeah.
You know, I love Dazed and Confused. I think, you know, as a movie that it is perfect. And again, he's a smaller role in that, but he's a pivotal role in that. And it started his career. That's always going to be a classic. But I hear what you're saying, you know, is this, when we get to the end, is it going to be that pivotal of a turning point in his career compared to a True Detective or an Interstellar or a Dallas Buyers Club, because that's the one where he gets his Oscar, or what? I don't know. But as a film, I absolutely loved this. I was totally blown away by it when I saw it. And I think, yeah, I can kind of see where you're both coming from. I think it's a classic movie.
Yeah.
But is it a classic career-defining point for him? Maybe not.
But I think in the terms of where it is in his career, this is a defining point. It's just whether this is the defining film in that point.
Yeah.
Because this is the exact midway between The Wedding Planner and him then going on to get an Oscar, really.
Yeah.
So, you know, this is the point where you can see his range, and it is going to get him cast in Dallas Buyers Club.
Yeah,
I think that this is a pivotal movie because I for the first time feel that he wants to be there. I think every other film has felt like a job. He's an actor, he's doing a good job. This feels like home to me. Does that make sense? In a similar way that Bernie almost did. Again, it was not the role he wanted, so it still was an acting job.
But he wanted to be part of that.
Wanted to be part of it. But this, I feel like, is a role that he wanted. He got to be.
It was written for him.
Got to bring all of his everything to. So that is why I think it should be classed as classic.
I love that.
Yeah.
We'll let the debate rage.
Yeah.
Great argument.
It's definitely worth revisiting the debate once you've seen all of them, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's what we'll do. You know, when I get to the end of we'll see which ones have hit what category, and then we'll try and come up with a definitive top 5 list at that point of what are the classic McConaughey movies, and we'll see if this is one that makes that list. Yeah.
I can't wait to see.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, and thank you for making time in your busy schedules again to discuss a McConaughey movie.
Yeah, anytime.
Yeah.
What have you guys got coming up? Are we going to get a little sneaky episode before Christmas?
We just released one this morning. But
okay.
in the early hours, I forgot I'd done it until I woke up and remembered I'd done it. And funnily enough, we featured a Matthew McConaughey film. So, you know, to be the Ghost of Christmas Future for you, Jack, we know what's coming, and it's good. It's real good. Because we just reviewed The Lost Bus, which is, again, I think that actually put that up beside Mud, and you can start to see some really nice McConaughey performance in that.
We haven't released it yet, but we had a special guest star on our episode. We filmed it yesterday.
Yeah.
And with author and critic Kristen Lopez. She was talking about disabilities and how they're represented in film. So I'm excited about that one. I'm excited to see what people think.
So a real deep dive into her book, but also into that aspect of Hollywood that is not always represented very well. But we were able to really get into that with her, which was really good. A bit different for us, but also, something interesting.
Yeah.
And that'll be in the new year?
I think we might get it out before the end of the year.
Yeah, we're hoping.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm just thinking myself, we're saying all of this and it's all been recorded, and I think this comes out in the new year anyway. So everything we're talking about here is being in the future, will it be in the past? Lovely bit of time travel.
Yeah. But yeah, all of that will be available, and we'd love people to have a listen.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, guys. We'll speak again soon.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks.
So, what was the final score for the film, you ask? Well, that's as clear as... My thanks go out once again to Tim and Amber for adjusting their busy schedule to fit in this recording around my superflu. I like saying that. Thanks to you two listeners for your continued engagement and participation as we journey through the reconnaissance. That was Mud. Next up in a fortnight, we will be discussing Eminem's laid-bare performance as Dallas in Steven Soderbergh's Magic Mike for those that are watching along. Until next time, be excellent to each other and make sure you take the time to treat yourself too. I am Jack signing off. Yippee-ki-yay, movie lovers.
You just gotta keep living, man. Livin.
Cut.